Welcome back to another episode of Thinking That Matters. I'm Elizabeth Mahusai, your podcast host, and I am here with a longtime friend,
Yes.
I love being able to say, and guest David Garcia. Welcome, David.
I appreciate it very much.
So tell us about you, who you are, what you do, so that our viewing audience knows kind of the basis of our conversation.
Perfect. Well, my name's David, as Elizabeth mentioned, David Garcia. Born and raised here in McKinney, actually, McKinneyite, I believe that's what it's called. But I've got a few businesses. I guess two businesses and a nonprofit. What we do as far as those businesses, I've got a roofing company and a marketing agency, and then our nonprofit is Boomerang Cares Foundation. And that helps with families here in the Collin County area that are going through struggles and hardships, because we all go through those things. And I'm glad today, September 19th, North Texas Giving Day, because every nonprofit needs these donations, and that's what we rely on to help others throughout the community. And so, in a nutshell, I like to throw out my businesses and nonprofit, but I solely have a passion of helping the community, and that's who I am, I feel. So when you ask that question, it's more about of my passion coming out through the community versus any of my businesses that we even talk about.
I love that you went straight to that. Like because I always appreciate knowing what is the foundation of someone's passion. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're passionate about the community. I want to know more about that. Where do you believe the seeds were planted in you that has basically bloomed into this extreme passion for being involved in your community?
Yep. So again, born and raised here in McKinney. When I was a young child, either 4 or 5 years old, I remember either the Salvation Army, the church coming to my house with a trash bag full of toys. Didn't know they were coming. My family didn't know they were coming, but apparently somebody needed or knew that we needed these I guess you could say toys to make a good Christmas for us. And they gave me this toy truck, and I didn't realize the impact that made on me as a little boy until I got older, until what I'm doing now. And in 2015, we had our first Boomerang toy drive, and it was in Allen, Texas, at a little Mexican restaurant called Mexico, and we set up a little booth. And that year, we probably helped out maybe 3 families, and each year, the event just got bigger and bigger. And by 2021, I believe we had our first gala. And last year was the biggest one we've had, and we helped over 65 families, I think, over 140 kids. Yes,
It was amazing.
Well, it's amazing because the people that help, you and Fred are a huge part of that success, and you guys are there every year, and it means so much to us that you guys continue to support, because without you guys, this wouldn't be happening. And that's what we rely on.
It's a team effort, right?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and that's the one thing that I've always valued in observing your community connections that you have, is that it isn't just about what, quote unquote, David is doing for the community. Literally, you're mobilizing the community to help the community, if that makes sense.
Yes, 1,000%. I mean, I'm just doing what the community gave to us when we were kids, and I feel like my mission now, and you've heard it before, but my mission, I feel like if we're able to help out one kid that person did for me, and that child go off and do something bigger and better than what we're doing, that's all that matters.
It all began with a red truck.
Right.
I remember the first time you shared that, I think the first gala, and I thought to myself, how significant, right? We oftentimes can underestimate the significance of what seems small in the life of a child in this case.
Yep.
And I think about the thread of that red toy truck that you received, and now you have multiple businesses that you own. You've got this thriving nonprofit that's making a difference in the lives of people in the community, and in so many ways. Not that it's everything to do with the red truck,
Right.
but it's hard to imagine or to put a price on the impact of the red truck.
Exactly. And the crazy thing, not crazy, but most nonprofits, I'd say 99% of them actually, start because of something that happened to them. And that's where the passion comes out. I mean, I wish I could thank that one person that helped me out that day. It could have been some high school kid that was volunteer, didn't even want to be there. No clue. but they have no idea what they did for me and the impact that it made as I got older. And it's just a little, throwing a little pebble in the river and having that ripple effect type
Yeah,
thing.
I do love that. Or the butterfly effect,
Yeah,
right,
there
as
you
they
go.
say.
Exactly.
So I want to know, I mean, because you obviously you've got multiple businesses, and I mean, and a nonprofit is a nonprofit, but a nonprofit is a business.
It is.
It's just a business that isn't designed to grow in profit, right? It's to give more. What had you thinking or led you to want to start a business?
A business, what really led me to this, and I've had Boomerang Strategies, my marketing agency, for almost 11 years now. And my main reason for starting it is because I didn't want anybody to ever tell me, and this is before I had kids, I didn't want anybody to ever tell me I couldn't go to their choir concert, their soccer game, their football game. And just looking at that, knowing that one day I didn't know if I was going to be able to have kids or not, but just knowing that I didn't want to miss out on any of those opportunities because my parents weren't able to come to all of ours. My dad wasn't able to come to a lot of ours. He was working outside in the sun all day. And if he was able to make it, which was rare, he'd make it really late and not be able to see anything. But I'll tell you, whenever he did make it and I saw him outside the gate, oh my gosh, it lit my world up.
Yeah, it made such a difference. So again, going back to that, recognizing that it's not that your dad didn't want to be there.
Right.
Your dad was working and not able to be
Correct.
there, because there is a difference, right? And I love it. So when you think words that come to mind about, hey, I want my own business so that I can be there. Like if you had to put words to that, like I immediately thought freedom.
Mm-hmm.
What other words come to your mind? Like when you think my why?
Success.
Okay.
And that's weird to say that because a lot of people put success with monetary value. I look at it as just being able to spend time with my family. To me, that's success. And I can't be any more successful than I am right now with my family. I love the fact that I'm able to be with them when I want to, how I want to. And but on the back end, I've got great people to help me with that. I mean, the people that are helping me with the business, I've got a great foundation right now of people, and it may not always be like that. But just the fact that I am able to go do the things that I need to with my family, and I know that's taken care of on the back end with the businesses, it's amazing.
That's incredibly important. I love that you just said that success, that people often connect the concept or the idea of success to a monetary measure.
Yep.
And you are connecting success to a time measure.
Yes.
And just for you, the value of time spent with family.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, you've never had anybody on their deathbed say, "Oh, go bring me my trophies." They not at all.
No.
They typically say, "Bring the ones that I love," and having them with you.
I want to
That's
be
all that matters.
surrounded.
Yep.
And I think too that when people talk about the things that they regret,
Yes.
for example, thinking about that, it's more that I didn't spend the time.
Yeah.
That I don't have those memories. Because at the end of the day, the trophies will break,
Right.
or they'll get recycled.
Yep.
Or
what's going to happen to them? Like, who cares? Who knows and who cares at the end of the day? But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's such a minute thing in your life. And don't get me wrong, people strive to be better at success. That's all and good for them. To me, it's different. And I'm sure it is for a lot of other people, but at the same time,
Well, but I appreciate that perspective. And yes, to your point, someone who connects success to a monetary gain, it's not wrong.
Right.
It's just different. And I think what's important is, and it's something that I'm hearing, it sounds like along the way, you have gained a great understanding of who you are and what's important to you.
yeah.
And so you're pursuing based on that. Is that a fair
Yes,
statement?
very, very fair. Very fair.
So ultimately the seeds for starting your own business came from the freedom, the flexibility. I want to be able to have time even before. I love that you thought about this even before you had children.
It is. The crazy thing, before we even had kids, I felt like I was missing something. Didn't even know what it was. And then I had my kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out on this my entire life. And I mean, I was 35 at the time. I was a little older, but I was already missing and not having kids, and it was weird. And whenever they came into the world, it was like, oh, like I felt complete.
Oh,
It was,
I love it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I love it. So now you're a business owner, you're a husband, you're a father. I'm going to stick with that for a moment because I also know you're a friend and you're a community, community advocate. But think husband, father, business owner,
Child of God.
Yes,
Just throw that out there.
I love that. So at this stage of your business development and where you are, what would you say is the biggest struggle from a thinking standpoint, right? Because, hey, I'm an entrepreneur as well.
Yep.
Fred and I have been for a long time. We've raised both of our boys as entrepreneurs. And over the course of time, I've dealt with some, whether we want to call it limiting beliefs or paralyzing thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
What for you have been some that, even in this last few years of having kids, that have presented themselves that I got to address that to be successful in who you want to be?
So my whole thought process whenever I own a business, it's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be, with the time flexibility, this and that. I mean, but you're working constantly. You guys know that. It's a constant thing. But where I started struggling at and didn't know how to overcome that until I had some help is the process and procedures of these companies. I never had that really in place with my companies because I felt like it wasn't as needed, but as we scale, it's something it's a definite thing that you need. And the learning curve from that portion of it is what was really hard for myself because I've got ADD. And I go, honestly, that's why I think I keep myself so busy because that's how I run. That's how I live. And just having to sit down and learn CRM systems, the financials, figuring those things out of what is in detail of a business is what was really holding me back. Because if you don't have that right structure, the business is just going to go down. And the more people we add on, how's the foundation? And if you don't have a solid foundation, then where are the guys going to go? Where's the workers come in?
It's tough to scale without systems in place.
Very much so.
All right. Now, you mentioned that you had help. You had to also, though, get to a place of, I know I need help.
Yep.
And also actually reaching out to get help.
Yes.
So I want you to speak to the business owner or the entrepreneur who's listening, that they're sitting there and maybe they don't yet know they need help. What would be some clues for them to be able to, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
So how could you help the listener look for the clues of, I need some help?
Oh my gosh, Lou, that's a great question because what I've come to understand, this happened maybe 7-8 years ago. I started learning my strengths and my weaknesses. Self-awareness is the key. Oh my gosh. If you don't have any self-awareness, you're not going to go anywhere. You got to figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at. I like to figure out what I'm good at and focus more on those strengths. Focusing on the weaknesses, I kind of put those in the back burner, and figure out how I can delegate those.
Just manage them.
Manage them,
yeah.
Yes, because I'm a strong believer. If you're good at something, work on that something to make it even bigger and better. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening out there, and know figure out your self-aware. Be self-aware, and once you figure that out, I'll tell you that it's a big trajectory. I mean, you really do. Your life does change when you figure out your strengths and weaknesses.
I agree. And I mean, David and I, we've been networking together for a long time. So we've, and I've had the privilege of working with David and his team. And,
yes.
But we are in the Leadership McKinney class of 2025.
Greatest class
ever. And so, and one of the things that we've been working on are the Clifton strengths.
Yes.
And I remember when I was first exposed to that, in some ways you're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense, right? When you start seeing where you're strong, and then you also look at where you're weak and you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense too.
It does, but isn't that cool though? Like,
yes.
It really is. When we got those, my number one was ideation. And I looked, I was like, I don't know. But then I started reading of what it's about. I clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. It's kind of like a visionary almost.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, that is completely myself. And then first, I didn't think I did the test right. So I was like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, it was funny. Man, but that is really, really cool. People ask me about the DISC assessment, and I've done it years ago, but I haven't done that one in a while either. But I think I like the Clifton one better because it kind of breaks it down.
Yeah, different, obviously different assessments for different purposes, right? Where that's concerned. But I do like what you're sharing. You're, just encouraging people, a self-awareness. We need to better understand. We always need to be growing in an understanding of who we are and recognizing our strengths, and so that we can then manage and sometimes managing our weaknesses or delegating to other people. We need to surround ourselves with people who can fill the gaps where we're just going to struggle.
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes.
To be there. So, what were you
I
going
was
to
going to say, and you helped me out with that because I know you did help us with with my team, and years prior, Elizabeth helped me tremendously with that, with help coming in and structuring certain things where I knew my weaknesses were at, and you did an amazing job. And
I appreciate that.
You have no idea how much you did help me, though. And just maybe not at that time, but growing and understanding the concepts that you put in place and implemented meant the world. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. But you brought up a good point. I think sometimes, because, obviously as a coach, we want people to have value, right? But you just said something that I think is so important, that oftentimes when we're in the midst of learning, we might not be aware that we're learning.
Yep.
It's sometimes not until there's a period of time that goes by when you start doing things a little bit differently. You say it a little bit differently. You approach it a little bit differently. And then you have the ability to look back and go, okay, I learned something there.
Yes.
That's really good insight when it comes to, because I think oftentimes whether someone's engaged in coaching or in a program, oftentimes in the moment we think, I'm not getting any value out of this. And we shortcut ourselves because we're not thinking long term.
Right. Yes. And I look at, again, going back to success, the only way you succeed is by failing. And that's the only way. And I do my best to learn off of other people's mistakes, but I make them too. So and when I hire somebody, I always tell them that I want to be able to bring out the most potential in you that you may not even see that you have yourself. Mm-hmm. And that confidence. But when they start, they're not knowing exactly what to do, how to do it, and I let them know, hey, it's okay to fail because that's the only way you're going to get better. That's no doubt about it. Because just like you mentioned, you may do something that isn't right at that time, but you think later, oh my gosh, that's right. Learning from it.
It did impact. Well, in the same way, when you got the red truck, it's not like in that moment you thought, I'm going to have a foundation where I help people in the community who have a need and we can make a difference for their Christmas. And right in that moment, we don't know that. That comes over time. So, oh man, I appreciate that. So you talked about some ways to know you need help, right? Mm-hmm. We need self-awareness. We need to understand our strengths. We need to manage our weaknesses. Okay, so now let's say the person listening, they're already at that place where they're like, I need help, but there's a struggle to ask for help, to get the help. So what would be your encouragement for the business owner, the leader, the entrepreneur about how they need to think around this concept of asking for help?
Yeah, so it took me a while. I would procrastinate, but execution is the key because you have so many great things in your head, but if you don't execute, then it's pointless completely. And just being able to execute, because the biggest thing you can do is to grow, is get out of your comfort zone. And I was there completely of, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I shouldn't. I knew I had to do it, but I wouldn't take that extra step. But when you do take that step, it's like everything's off your shoulders. And so the biggest thing I can say in regards to that is just execute. Find good people around you. You are who you hang around with.
That's the truth.
You really are. And so if you're around positive people, guess what? That glass is going to be half full. And when you start mentalizing, when you start thinking that way, get up, do scripture, Look at YouTube motivational reels that are 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, and that makes a huge difference. I challenge some of my guys to do that for a month straight, and I promise you, it's going to change. You're just going to start changing your mindset.
I love that. So many things that we all have the propensity for procrastination.
Yes.
Right. And literally the opposite of procrastination is execution.
Yes.
And you said yourself, execution is key, and that we've got to get out of that comfort zone to be able to get into the growth zone. And then I just also appreciate that you said, we are going to become like the people that we hang out with.
Yes.
Right. I so appreciate that. Now, you made mention of, leveraging scripture or something positive on YouTube. I would love for you to speak to how faith has played a role, not just in your personal development, but also in how you're building your companies and also your nonprofit.
Yeah, so we are considered a faith-based company. And I let everybody know when they come in is that exactly. Hey, by the way, we are a faith-based company. And if that's any type of issue or, no problem at all, I just want to let you know that that's who we are, what we're about, and it may not be a good fit. Just letting God take control has done wonders. I grew up Catholic and went to, it's called, every Sunday went through the whole courses of school, Catholic school, this and that, and then got my confirmation, communion. But Elizabeth, I couldn't even tell you what the book was through that whole time. Even as an 18-year-old kid, I guess you can say I graduated through those courses. Couldn't tell you. It wasn't until a couple good buddies of mine, Dean Hansen and a gentleman named Chris, that I started doing a Bible study with them back in 2009, I think.
Wow.
And it was life-changing for me. I started reading. I was like, oh my gosh, this is an actual book. The Bible. I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And just really, dive deep in there, and just you can't go wrong, even if you have faith or not. But if you go by what the Bible is, it's nothing but positivity, and you cannot live your life wrong just by reading the Bible.
Looking for those for the principles,
Yes.
the biblical principles that
Yes.
we can really base our life on.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, and to go back to your question, how that evolved to my company is just letting people know, hey, we want to be able to help everybody out we can. The roofing company in a whole is notorious for, it's got a bad rap to it.
Do you want the roofing industry?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
As a whole, yes, in contracting or whatnot, but it's got a pretty bad rap to it, to where, there's greed involved, and there's dirty, people out there that'll take advantage of you, this and that. Well, we wanted to change that. And, I'm a firm believer, the more you throw out, the more you get back, hence the name Boomerang. And it really does work, because the more you're wanting to help people out, it's not going to happen overnight, but the more they reciprocate and give it back tenfold.
I love that. And I think that, it's important to lead with it, right? It's, and you're doing that. Now, I'm curious, like for you, I want you to make a connection here for the people listening as a person who's growing in your faith, right? And you've got businesses that are growing. I want to know, how might you connect business development and growth to faith development and growth?
That is good. I look at it as a standpoint of, if you don't have God, you don't have nothing. And even He blessed us with what we have with these businesses. And being able to let everyone know that this is who we are and this is how our culture is with our businesses, it's like a snowball effect, I guess. Okay. Because the more every meeting we have every Monday, afterwards we do a daily devotion. And so we pray and talk about God, and it leaves the room. Everybody leaves that room with this is going to be a great week. This is going to be a great week, because we know when we leave that room and while we're in that room that God is with us, and there's nothing that He can put on our plate that we can't handle. And yes, we go through a lot of things, but us every Monday morning when we talk, we're a team and we're family and we're one. And there's no weak link, and if there is, then we're all weak. And God has really helped provide putting good things in our hearts for that. And, you know, sometimes the guys may be struggling and finding leads or doing this, but we all start from somewhere. We all start from nothing, but as long as you have patience and you believe, and I don't get me wrong, that's not all it takes, but hard work as well. But as a whole, we're all there for you, and having just knowing that God's going to take care of it. It kind of sounds weird, but when you do put it in God's hands, He does provide.
He takes care of it.
He does.
I mean, it's so true. I mean, I think Fred and I have been entrepreneurs in some form or fashion for 24 years. And, you know, I look back and sometimes I just shake my head and I marvel over we never missed a house payment. And, you know, when you're completely commission based,
Yes.
I mean, let's just take 2020.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know, within 2 weeks, we had lost 95% of all of our business. You know, I was on a very, very small church salary at the time. You know, I mean, and yet God still provided.
Yep.
That's the one thing I, you know, just think about that. For those listening who are faith-led, who are faith-based, being an entrepreneur is such an adventurous place to be because you really do get to experience God's faithfulness.
Yes. Oh, you do. Oh, that's
right?
good.
You really, I think in some ways, I'm not saying that it is, but it feels like sometimes it's more tangible, right? You know, living out those principles of God will supply all of your needs according to His riches in Christ Jesus. You know, doesn't mean that it doesn't come in other ways. But sometimes I think us entrepreneurs get to experience it more.
You're so right, because you know a lot of times when you lose your faith is because honestly things are going great at work, things are good, but it always seems like you go back to God when things are going bad. And as an entrepreneur, you're always like, oh, God, help me today. God, help me. So, I mean, He's there. You're asking Him all the time and wanting to be with Him more. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because I do. Whenever I became more of an entrepreneur, it does. I had God more in my presence because I was relying on Him.
You're like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but Lord, I need you.
I need you, Lord. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yes, I just think the number of times but it's, for me, I know for me personally, it's one of the reasons why I love being in the entrepreneurial space, because I think God knew my tendency to be self-reliant, to think that I can do it. And so in the entrepreneurial world, it in many ways, it forces reliance.
Yeah, it does.
Right, where you come to the end of yourself. And, you know, you can't make someone sign on the dotted line.
Yep.
You can't make someone buy.
Yeah.
You know, there really is a high level of trust. You're not guaranteed a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? I mean, and I like to tell people it's the don't work, don't eat lifestyle.
Yep. 1,000%, 1,000%. And it's funny because my wife has been in the corporate world for her entire life, basically. And before I started Boomerang Strategies, I was bartending. And funny quick story. During that time, I was still working with Hot Shots, bartending, getting ready to take a role in State Farm at the time. So I was doing my test, but then I was working. I just got laid off at a bartending position, so I went to go look for another bartending position. Well, they only had like 2 days a week.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, I need to find something more.
Yeah.
When another restaurant, well, we only have a position for a server for 1 day a week or something. I was like, all right. And then so I had to find something else. So one day I come home and I'm changing shirts, and Josie said, where are you going? I said, work. And it said Shady's Brouhaha. And she's like, where? And I was like, Shady's, I told you about. She's like, you got another job? I'm like, Josie, I said, this is all I'm able to do right now. Like, I got to make money somehow.
I know.
But yeah, she looked at me. She's like, are you like, you got another job? I'm like, yeah. And that was all while building
We're at 4 and counting.
Yes. Yes. And so it was.
Oh, goodness.
But the beautiful thing about that is when I started Boomerang Strategies, it took a little while to get business in. And once I did, I was able to let one job go. I was able to let another go. And then finally, was able to take that on full time. And just having that story, and I guess resilience is
Great word.
It's great, you know.
Great word.
It's it felt like a huge achievement, and I honestly didn't think about it really till now, but it's true.
I so appreciate the word resilience, and I think entrepreneurs, business owners have so many opportunities to cultivate resilience.
Yes.
Right. And here's the thing. I say they have opportunity because I don't believe everyone does. I think that, you know, being an entrepreneur or being a business, it can be a beatdown, right? And we can either get better or we can get bitter.
Yes.
And resilience helps us to get better.
Yes.
And so I'm so glad you brought that word into, because I believe like that's an example, and that's a good segue, you know, as we bring this to a close. You know, it's so important, like the thinking that we cultivate, because just right there, what you said, you know, the need to be resilient, and you did what it took to make it through that season.
Yes. And that's, you know, and that's how the world is. You're not going to get anywhere unless you go after it, you know? And I always say the most of the time how I see businesses fail is because simply not asking for it, or asking for a need, asking for referrals, asking for whatever the case may be. And I get not everybody's like us. They could be introverts, but at the same token, if you don't go after it, you're never going to get it.
You said we can all procrastinate.
Yep.
But the opposite of procrastination is execution.
Exactly.
So I think whether you're executing in a gregarious, you know, outspoken way, which might be how we would be described, or you're in a softer, more mindful approach.
Yeah.
But either way, you still have to execute.
Exactly.
Right?
One way or another.
But to your point, kind of bringing this full circle, that's why it's valuable to have the self-awareness of your strengths, right? Because here's the thing. I don't have to be David. David doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
Be who God created you to be, and operate and leverage your strengths to make a difference.
Yes, 1,000%. Everybody talks about, you know, the competition, this and that. But at the end of the day, you're running your own race. And if you're focused on other people, then you're just going to get sucked in with everybody else. And you're only running your own race.
Yeah, I love that. So round us out. I ask everyone who is on the podcast the question, why do you believe it's important to cultivate thinking that matters?
Oh my gosh. When you say the word cultivate, that automatically brings in my head culture. And with my businesses, culture matters so much, because if you don't have culture, if you don't have that backbone, if you don't have that structure, then you don't have anything at all, in my opinion. And just being able to have that makes a world of a difference in where you're going to go. Because if you don't have good culture, then that means you don't have good people. If you don't have good people, you don't have a good business. And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, so it's interesting to also, I mean, just the recognition of how much our thinking impacts our culture.
1,000%, yes.
Right? And so what I'm hearing you say is that it's important to cultivate thinking that matters so that you can cultivate a culture that gets you where you want to go.
Yes, yep.
I love that because I think that so often we want to complain about culture, but we're not actually assessing what's going on up here. And how we think about people, about things, about situations. That's such a great connection. I appreciate that. All right, so David, before we close out, tell them how they can find out about you, your businesses, and specifically where they can learn more about how to support Boomerang Cares Foundation.
Yes, first and foremost, yes, Boomerang Cares. Go check us out. It's boomerangcares.org. We're actually having a gala that you guys are going to MC. We're super excited about that. So that's going to be December 7th, and would love for everybody to check that out. We're throwing it out there on social media as we speak, and it's going to be an amazing event. It's casino themed. It's going to be great.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I know. So we're changing up a little bit, but it's going to be a time to a date night, get dressed up, just have a great time. But that is going to help our community with families that are going through hardship and struggles. But again, that's boomerangcares.org. You can call anybody or go there. For our phone number's on there as far as the nonprofit. And then David at roofingontop.com. That's my primary email address for any roofing needs. You can definitely find me on there. And all social media. I mean, we got Boomerang Cares and Roofing on Top. Check us out on any platform we're on, and I love it. I love, with my marketing background, I just love being able to show what we do and how we do. And it's not all about business. It's really about.
It's fun.
It is. It's fun, and it's just throwing things
you
out.
just want to follow David to get some good laughs.
Yeah, and that's true too.
Get some good laughs and creativity. I absolutely do love it. I love following you guys and you know and what you do, because it really does. It's just, yes, it's entertaining. Yeah. There's that. But it does show your care for people and the community, and that you created the Boomerang name because of your true thinking that the more you give, the more it comes back. You know, that's a biblical principle.
It is.
Give and it shall come back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over.
Like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. And it's taken me 14, 15 years to where we've gotten. And man, those years were struggling. They were hard, but it was a definite journey that I wouldn't take back, because I hate the word regret, because if you don't know, I would never be in this position if I didn't make the mistakes that I did. And that's how I look at those regrets type thing, because you're not who you are unless you go through those things.
Fail forward.
Fail forward.
Fail
yes.
forward.
Love it.
It is about failing forward. Well, we so appreciate you tuning in to our podcast. I'm Elizabeth Mahusai, host of Thinking That Matters, and I look forward to seeing you back here for our next episode.